It's just a few words, and do with it as you will. When will we realize that the further we run from fate, the closer we're getting to it? Two, most of us are too young to know what our wishes will be, but we're never too young to follow our dreams. Three, you could only follow your mind for so long till your heart has had enough and decides to take over. Four, don't concentrate on where you are. Concentrate on where you want to be. Five, sometimes if you're like me, you feel like life is telling you you could get this close to it, but you can't have it. And I realize that I don't want any of the same things I've had before. So keep pushing, because eventually you're going to get there. Six, we get focused on the blessings we have, or we don't get. We got to focus on the blessings we have, and not on the ones we want. Because at the end of the day, God is going to see us through. Seven, we walk away from our dreams afraid that we would fail. But worse yet, sometimes that we'll succeed. And eight, for ladies, any man not willing to love you in the light, definitely not man enough to love you in the dark. And here's my piece. I come from the shallows of poverty and the gold mines of love. Therefore, henceforth and forevermore, I'll always rise above. I come from tectonic plates of perspiration converging with persistence, striking the slips in your faults and converging upon them with perseverance. You see, if you really saw me, would you really understand what you were seeing? And would you understand that it takes more than just the eye to understand what you believe in? You have to listen to see, you gotta feel, then breathe. The pain in her eyes was not that of his own, but rather the collected tears of his people he knew would run with no retreat if he was to fail them now. He had to stand and realize the true test lies not what he does in time of peace, but in the face of adversity. And she stands alone quite proudly, not to be the stereotypical icon that fashion foreign minds to believe, read, and perceive that blackness is anything other than pure divinity. And as I sifted through the melodies in an erroneous attempt to circumvent the restrictions society had placed upon her, I locked eyes in an attempt to allow her corneas to be exposed by a reflection of more than just fear. And I begged her to understand that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that the copulation of two beings gave breath to a vessel that your soul was preordained to give life to. And that in their world, love runs parallel with acids and perpendicular to compassion, so that when you hope for a sympathetic ear, the rationale is only... Fuck, man. As I sifted through the melodies in an erroneous attempt to circumvent the restrictions society had placed upon her, I locked eyes in an attempt to allow her corneas to be exposed by a reflection of more than just fear. And I begged her to understand that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that the copulation of two beings gave breath to the vessels that your soul was preordained to give life to. That in their world, love runs parallel with assets and perpendicular to compassion, so that when you hope for a sympathetic ear, the rationale of that empathy only further knocks them off their course to keep it real. And it's not your fault that man moves about a reckless abandon to consume, control, and assume the role of dominance over you, treating you as a commodity and hoping to buy your heart like they would in the election, only to send it into cardiac arrest, to pull you close, to strip you down to your last breath. It's not your fault that you represent their hopes and dreams. But your dreams are to dance on air with the wind at your back, and they can't understand that having offspring doesn't mean you get a vicarious do-over at life. And of course, they bred you in the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yet again, it's not your fault that in the next breath they didn't drive home that it falls so it could dig roots and sprout new seeds. You see, I told myself I wasn't going to any longer finger stroke you with altruistic similes and syncopated metaphors. And maybe, just maybe, I should really write an honest poem about how honestly I love you. And how my issues with consistent commitment keep me conflicted into whether or not to drag you into the sort of mess that I call life. You see, I'm just a brother trying to find his own freedom to chase a dream. Although knowing at the end of the day the capture, not the chase, brings stability. And knowing that my biggest fear is in failing, and that I stay up at night fighting mental contemplations about my two biggest vices in life, death and love. You see, I've been afraid of death since I fell in love with life and realized my own mortality. You see, we're taught school, 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 and if we're lucky, we're standing with high school diplomas and BAs saying, then what? It's still a recession monetarily and intellectually at the end of the day. And while we contemplate change, we realize that death lays lamenting, undeniably dormant, doting on the dwellers, dividing the doubters, and dominating the disbelievers. Yet love left lateral lacerations, lamenting lazily, leaving litigiously laced lullabies running through my mind. Yet it seems that I'm still always hoping for tomorrow. And this isn't an attempt to accomplish a conquest or anxiety and emotional process, not a metaphorical random obsess. Just a simple way I best know to be direct. You see, all my life, I had a choice between love and hate. And despite how you may perceive me, I've always chosen love. Simply put, it got me to where I am now. It may not be blinking, it may not be glamorous, it may have rocky streets and sidewalks made out of broken glass, but this rose, this Aunt Rose, will continue to rise from concrete because I know that when I die, I never once denied my heart because I was afraid of change. You see, everything we do down here matters. So as always, do unto others as you would have them do unto you at the end of the day. And I implore you, please, 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 stop being afraid of your own voice. And I'm out.